Hey, what's up YouTube? I'm Dark Jack, and in this video I'm playing some Black Ops 2 in the map Raid, where I do pretty well. I don't get a nuclear, but I get over 40 kills. And today what I want to talk to you guys about is why I choose not to play MMO games. And MMO stands for Massively Multiplayer Online. These are games like World of Warcraft, Guild Wars, and EverQuest. And back in the day, from around 1998 to 2000, I did play a little bit of EverQuest, and that was fun. It was extremely addicting. And I also played Guild Wars 2. I bought that game about a year ago and had some fun. But I learned from Guild Wars 2 that I don't really enjoy playing MMOs anymore. And I'm going to explain why in this video. First of all, I am not a believer in the subscription-based model or the microtransaction model or the free-to-play model. Because when you use those forms of revenue, you lose track of how much money you are spending because it really adds up fast. And as a console gamer who wants to play the best games out there, I am philosophically opposed to these forms of revenue, because I would much rather pay $60 and have peace of mind about the game rather than paying a subscription and never knowing how much the game is going to cost me. And I talked about this earlier in a video I made called Why I Don't Play Free-to-Play Games. And I'm going to put a link in the description to an article I read on Gamasutra that was very interesting. It talked about how free-to-play games make their money, and they used the example of people that they called whales. They make most of their money from 1% of the people who play it, that they called whales, who are the big spenders. And there was one person that they mentioned who actually paid $30,000 over the course of this game. That's how much they were addicted to it. And many free-to-play MMOs start out as subscription-based MMOs, and then switch over time because the game does not sell well. If you look at Star Wars: The Old Republic and DC Universe Online, they may be technically free to play, but they start out as subscription-based games, and they're only free to play for a certain amount of time, and then eventually you're going to have to spend money in order to lock the rest of the content. Now when it comes to games like World of Warcraft, and particularly it, I honestly do not see why people can continue to pay $15 a month in order to play it, which is $180 a year. And that's the equivalent of 3 new games. And with games like Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn and The Elder Scrolls Online coming out soon, I don't see how you can justify paying $15 a month to play World of Warcraft. And I might try Final Fantasy XIV and Elder Scrolls Online if they don't use a subscription-based model. But I know Final Fantasy XIV will, and so I'm secretly hoping that the game bombs, so they'll have to change the revenue model to the pay-once model. And World of Warcraft gets away with the subscription-based model because they were the first ones to pull it off successfully. And people who pay the $15 a month do not want to consider their time playing the game as a sunk cost and move on because of how much money they've put into the game. They don't want to walk away from it because they've invested a lot into the game and they don't want to lose all the things that they've invested in it. So they keep paying the monthly fee, even though it's a ripoff because there are so many games out there. And World of Warcraft is adding an XP bonus and more microtransactions to the game. So they are double dipping. So not only do you have to pay a fee every month, but also you have to do microtransactions if you want to rank up fast. And with MMOs in general, you can never complete everything in the game, because with the never-ending quests, the next to impossible tasks that they give you, you are never satisfied, because if you ever reached a point of satisfaction, you would stop paying the monthly fee, or you would stop buying microtransactions. And MMOs tend to have a very poor end game, and people use these type of games to medicate their real-life problems through microtransactions. They are medicating through microtransactions, which can potentially never end, so you can never stop paying money for a game, rather than dealing with their real-life problems. And with MMOs, it seems like you never reach a point where you truly feel satisfied. You always have to attain the next rank. You become addicted to it through a Skinnerian type model where you constantly put in time and money into the game, and you have to keep putting in more time and more money to reach the same level of satisfaction that previous endeavors would have satisfied you with. And then as you rank up in the game, when you first start off and you rank up really fast at first, but then as you go on, you rank up slower and slower, and so you have to put more time into the game in order to receive that satisfaction of ranking up and feeling accomplished in it. Another problem I have with MMO games is that the combat system is essentially skillless. And what the combat system boils down to is you walk up to an enemy, you press the left mouse click to click on an enemy, and your character fights them automatically. And you alternate between cooldowns with your character. And this combat style is very accessible, but it's not something that interests me as much as other games. It is an inferior combat system to Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and The Witcher 2, which are much more fun for me to play, because those games require lots of skill to play. And they reward me for my skill, not necessarily for how much time I put into it, though they are closely related. And in an MMO game, how well you do is dependent upon your level and your gear, rather than your individual skill. So, if you want to beat Dark Souls, for example, you could beat Dark Souls at soul level 1 with no armor on if you're crazy, and it is possible to do if you're skilled enough. But with an MMO, it's impossible to beat the highest level monsters if you're only level 1 with bad gear. And many of the tasks in MMO games are essentially fetch quests. You have to go here, do this, kill that monster, bring this item back, and collect this. And the quests in MMO games, based off of my experience, tend to be very repetitive. You do the same sort of thing every single time, but with different named things that look slightly different from each other. And you're essentially doing the same thing over and over again to rank up to reach satisfaction. And so my question for people that play MMO games is that if you're doing that, don't you do enough of that in the real life, in the real world? So why would you want to, after spending time at work, want to come home and spend more time working doing essentially the same sort of stuff? Don't you work enough in the real world? Don't you want to actually have fun doing something different than you do in the real world? And in one sense, Call of Duty is an MMO game, because the designers of Call of Duty took the ranking system from an MMO and combined it with a first-person shooter. So when you start off in Call of Duty, you start out at level 1, and then you slowly rank up until you reach the highest rank. Then you prestige and you go back to level 1, and then you rank up again. And it takes more time to rank up the longer you play. And so that's my 2 cents on why I don't play MMOs, because I'm opposed to the subscription-based model and the free-to-play model, because I don't want to have to worry about that. I want to know how much I have to pay in order to play a game, because the combat system is too simplistic for my taste. It's too repetitive. There's no real sense of satisfaction. The end game is not very good. And the fetch quests become very repetitive. And I'll see you guys later.